Agile leaders often challenge me. They will tell me that they don't know which of the Agile meetings they belong in, which ones they don't. They get invited to so many that sometimes it's a bit overwhelming for them. And I think that sometimes, as a position of a product owner or scrum master, we may not see things from their point of view because thinking about it as leaders, they get invited to a lot of meetings that we may not even be privy to. So it causes us to have concern, or we should be concerned, to make sure that we're not overextending ourselves to those leaders. So I thought it'd be cool to put together a short list of 3 meetings that could happen once a week that will help your leaders understand what's going on and help you lead your team like a rock star so that the team doesn't feel like they're spending too much time in meetings, and so that leadership feels like it has the information that it needs. That's what it boils down to, right? Like many leaders, the extended period of working remotely from home, I'll tell you, it catches them by surprise because over the past decade, we've all worked hard to refine our meeting facilitation skills and making sure we got everything we need. Um, some of us have even created courses, and I know I have one, on effectively leading problem-solving meetings for a diverse team. So we have an Agile Team Immersion workshop that does that. Going virtual turned us into a completely different ballgame. It changed everything. And I'm not going to say it was all in a good way, and I'm not going to say it was all in a bad way, but it was all in a way. So luckily, I was part of the early adoption to get on with some tools like Zoom and Teams and starting to put together different things that we could do so that it made it easier for the people that we coached, for the clients that we coached, to adapt and adopt. So we went through, while everyone else was slowly acclimating themselves, getting used to how to do things, we were already knee deep into the virtual meeting space, and we knew exactly what we were going to do with our peers, which was totally cool. But what I didn't think about, and what eventually became a problem, was how to keep the team connected to me as a coach, keep them connected to each other, and keep leadership in the loop. It was like this Venn diagram that I was trying to create, where I was trying to find its sweet spot in the middle. And we all know that sometimes that's hard, especially when you pull those circles of the diagram apart. The further you pull the circles apart, the more tiny that centerpiece gets. So the goal was to try to figure out how to hit that center target. So the first thing I did was re-referenced and went back and looked at what I did when we were in person to see how I could gain that balance back. So I started doing some interviews to figure out what senior leadership, what their expectations were, what the team's expectations were, and what their frustrations were, and then what I needed as a coach to kind of piece it all together. And I came up with 3 meetings that should happen once a week. So let's take a look at what I put together and see if it maps to something that you did. So one of the first meetings is an interesting one because this one has nothing to do with Agile. I called it Open Office Hour. So one of the first ideas came from my team. It had to do with them having dedicated time to be able to talk to me about different things that were happening as their coach. So being in the office was easy. They could just walk over and have a conversation. Someone needed to ask a quick question? Great. Just either pick up a phone or, walk on over. It wasn't so easy when people were remote, and the team felt uncomfortable, but they wanted some consistency in saying, hey, how do I know when you're right there and you can answer a question about a roadblock or about what's going on? So what we did is we agreed as part of our team working agreement that I would have an open office hour so that, they could reach out to me anytime. But during this hour, it was like immediate availability on the fly when they needed it right away. They were assured that I wasn't in any other meetings, that I wasn't on any other calls, that I didn't have anything else going on. And what I would do is I would rotate this hour from team to team. So literally, I would dedicate 1 hour per week per team to doing this as a coach. And what I can tell you is this worked really, really well. At first, it wasn't so busy. But then when people realized, hey, they had this dedicated time, people started dropping into that Zoom session and asking questions. And I just literally left Zoom open with an open link. And I was going about doing other work. But at the same time, if someone dropped in, I dropped everything to talk to them. This was really, really cool because it felt like they had instant and immediate access. It was like a drop-in. It was almost like they could walk by my desk. It was just a perfect opportunity. So I recommend that you give that a shot if you're in a coaching position or if you're in a strategic position. to give people an hour a week to be able to just have your time. And especially if you're in a leadership position, this works there too. It's just an incredible thing. It's a great idea, and it'll jumpstart your way to success in Agile or even in life. But in Agile, it'll definitely do that. All right, let's go to number 2. The second meeting that I started piloting was one that I called a work status meeting. Now, don't get hung up on this. For my fans of Agile or Lean, you might recognize this as a team huddle. And you might say, well, how is this different than a daily scrum? Hang in there, I'll tell you. I wanted this time to be where the leaders, like the senior leadership team, directors, VPs, anybody else who wanted to get input, could drop in and get information directly from the team. So we started taking a look at how this would happen and when it was best and when it was most effective. And what we found was the team really did a good job with their daily scrums on Monday, getting everybody back on the same page, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, while they were immersed in work. But we found that our Friday daily scrums were becoming a little loosey-goosey because we were more prepping for the weekend than we were, updating on work. So one of the things that I did was I implemented something, you're going to love this. I called it Finish Fridays. So I got some structure to it, and I did it kind of round robin, just like a daily scrum, but we did wins for the week, the top priorities we should be talking about next week. And this was the best part. Anybody who had plans for the weekend, not work related. And what this did was it gave leadership a chance to see the personality side of the team, but it also gave them a chance to drop in and just hear what the wins were for the week and what our priorities were next week. And this was beautiful because it made the meeting personal. Now, what was even more interesting about this meeting is I started out making it optional, which was really interesting. But what I found was that the team became more interested in attending this meeting than others because it was a time where they could have just a social event and they could provide information for leadership and we could just kind of all have a conversation. This eventually became what we call water cooler time. And it was 15 minutes, but we padded it with an extra 15 minutes just in case people wanted to go longer and talk about things. So this was just one of those things that I found Finish Friday was a great way to get everybody on the same page. And it was the right daily scrum for leadership to come to because they didn't so much care about the minutia, but they wanted to hear about what was finished and where we were going and what the next top priorities were. So this Finish Friday meeting was absolutely amazing. So some people made it an extension of their daily scrum, which I thought was totally cool, but they repurposed the daily scrum on Friday to focus on those 3 things, which I thought was genius. So there we go. The last one is something I called the work productivity meeting. Now, this was interesting. This was a meeting where it didn't involve the entire team. This meeting involved Po Bafata, if you've taken my class before, which is product owner, business analyst, functional analyst, technical analyst, any kind of people who are stakeholders, and usually the scrum master or coach. And product owners and product managers are always, at this meeting as well. And what this did was I like to refer to it as Workflow Wednesday. I know I'm getting crazy with the names, but Workflow Wednesday was just an agenda where we reviewed our Jira tool or whatever tool we had, just kind of looked at what was going on. And it was a place for us to receive feedback because people wanted more information about things that could help the team be more productive, help us make sure we were moving in the right direction. So it didn't necessarily go into work prioritization, but it went into sharing what we've learned, what direction we were going. It was a blend of open discussion, and sometimes it was training sessions for leadership, or sometimes work prioritization came up, but we tried to pivot from that if it did, because we wanted to set something aside separate for that. So what we found is Workflow Wednesday was a great time to pause, look at the big picture, double down on what matters most, and then follow up on that on our Friday session, which Finish Friday and Workflow Wednesday were just 2 of what we found to be one of the most powerful meetings, because what it did is it realigned all the stars. It helped leadership have a place. It helped the Pobafata stay focused, and it gave the team the opportunity to have those water cooler conversations that they were missing out from working from home. And it just rebuilt the focus on the personality of the team. So it was just awesome on all accounts. So I don't know if you do these things. If you do, I'd love to hear it in a comment. If you do something different that's similar, I'd love to hear that in a comment as well. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, you take care. Bye now.